try to give him to him. Yeah. So he'll be a guy that if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point. Here.
Crawford took the moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that,
let's call a spade, right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit, but that doesn't mean he's gonna be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way, but I'll give you Roy Jones Jr.
Roy Jones Jr. believes Canelo Alvarez would not be able to withstand Terence Crawford, pointing to the loss of energy and sharpness that once defined Canelo's
Predicated
style.
upon how well Terence can take his punch. Yeah. And what I'm seeing is I see a hungry Crawford, a Crawford that has been looking for the opportunity for a long time, finally getting the opportunity, and really ready to grab the opportunity. And with Canelo, I see a guy who not necessarily hungry, but loves to entertain, loves to give us the big fight. Always tries to give the big fight. He finds a way to give us big fights. Not going to always win them, but he always tries to give them to us. So he'll be a guy that if he shows up and does the exact right thing, he can win the fight. If he don't do the right thing, which I don't see him doing, I don't know why he would at this point here. I don't know. It'll all be predicated upon how well Terence can take his punch.
Yeah. You said you don't think, or you don't look into the weight difference. Why?
When you know how to box, when you're as skillful as Terence Crawford is, weight don't really matter.
Roy Jones warns that if Canelo enters the fight overconfident, believing a win over Terence Crawford is certain, he risks a harsh reality check. He stresses that underestimating.
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why it's hard to call. It's a hard call because it'll all be predicated upon how Canelo approaches the fight. If Canelo approaches the fight like he's the man and he can box and outbox Terence Crawford, he'll get beat. If he comes out and shows that he really wants to go out and prove the world he's still the best, he might win. So it all depends on which Canelo comes to the
Boxer Omari Jones has expressed confidence that Terence Crawford will defeat Canelo Alvarez, noting that Crawford's approach to gaining weight for this fight is unlike the typical strategy of fight.
And like me personally meeting Crawford several times, it's like the man is just so competitive. It's like I don't even have to say nothing to him. He'll just like, man, when we sparring, it's like his competitiveness is always gonna put him over the edge, and then he just has that like, I'm not gonna let you bully me, or his skill set. And I know they talk about Charlo when Charlo moved up, but I feel like it may be a little bit different for Canelo this time around because Crawford took the weight moving up in weight classes serious. He did the dieting, he did the training. So I feel like when you put in work like that, um, it's a win-win. So
So, so you don't think Crawford, gaining that weight, because I saw him, he's pretty big. You don't
yes.
think that's going to be a disadvantage for him in this fight?
No, it looked like he put it on the
Jones
right way.
acknowledges that while facing a bigger opponent is a real physical challenge, Crawford's skill, discipline, and commitment will enable him to adapt effectively. He
You
knows
know, the nutrition, the like I said, the training. Crawford, he trains hard, so I feel like I know they say he probably went up to like 185, so he has to lose that weight. But I think if he did it the right way, which I know he did, he'll be successful in September.
And I know you, like we discussed earlier, we talked with your pro debut, and now you're 3-0. Your last fight, July 19th against Blanco, and it's actually your third win by knockout.
Yes.
Super proud of you. How are you feeling about your pro career so far?
I'm feeling great about my pro career. I definitely feel like it's off to a great start. My pro debut in my hometown, and then I was my second fight, Atlantic City on the Boots card, and then my third fight on the Bam Rodriguez undercard. So Matchroom and Eddie Hearn, they're putting me on these cards, shining light on me, giving me
former world champion Paulie Malignaggi has taken note of Crawford's transformation, particularly his increased physical size ahead of this bout. Malignaggi sees this as a major.
I mean, listen, let's call a spade, right? When you get bigger, you do slow down a little bit. That doesn't mean he's gonna be ineffective at that weight. I think it's a bona fide good point to make. Sometimes it does wind up that way. But I'll give you Roy Jones Jr. You know, Roy Jones Jr. You know, put on weight, was muscular as he moved up the weight classes, and didn't it didn't affect him. Good old Manny Pacquiao did the same thing. You know, so you know, there's times where it affects, and there's times where, you know, I guess if you put it on the right way. Only Crawford knows it because the way he's training, right? Because you're going to be sparring with this added weight. You're going to be doing the boxing training with this added weight. So you're going to know how to, you know, maybe taper it down if you need to, or keep it going if you need to. You know, I think over the course of camp, if you start to feel too yoked up, and, you know, you get big, and then, you know, you're sacrificing reflexes, you're sacrificing athleticism, you're going to feel it.
Crawford appears to have struck the perfect balance, gaining the strength and durability needed to face a naturally larger opponent like Canelo, while preserving the...
Roy Jones is Roy Jones, but also Terence Crawford is Terence Crawford. But John Ruiz is not Canelo Alvarez. So that's another aspect of that comparison. And yes, you know, to exactly what the champ said, exactly what Abel Sanchez said, you know, you're going to put on weight, you're going to be a different fighter. And I can say this even as a fighter as myself. As I've gotten heavier in my retirement, I try and move around the gym. It just feels different. And even when you start camp, you feel different in the beginning than you do at the end. But listen, we're still 4 or 5 weeks away. I don't know exactly what Terence is weighing right now. And even if he does say what he weighs, man, he's gone out there and said he's weighed, you know, all types of crazy numbers just to get media to respond. So it's really not really going to know until the fight and we see these guys next to each other. He might look bigger right now, but he might not be that.
Renowned boxing analyst Max Kellerman has delivered a sharp technical breakdown of the matchup between Terence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, highlighting Crawford's jab as one of the most precise and effective weapons in boxing to date. Fast, well-timed, and capable of controlling the fight's rhythm. While Canelo once possessed a similarly sharp jab earlier in his career, Kellerman noted that it has declined in recent years, giving Crawford a clear advantage in range control and point scoring. Beyond the jab, Kellerman praised Crawford's tactical intelligence, describing him as a fighter who can make real-time adjustments and exploit openings that others fail to see.
Crawford. Best defense. Crawford. Nowadays, Crawford. I would say early in the fight, Canelo. And earlier in his career, Canelo. But he hasn't been that kind of fighter in recent years. Although Crawford is also hittable. With any fighter, when you talk about their defense, the question is not, can they be hit with a shot? You take punches. Everyone, the greatest defensive fighters ever get hit. Pernell Whitaker, Willie Pep, Floyd Mayweather, they all get hit. The question is, can you hit them with combinations? And both guys are hard to hit. With the two-piece, hard to hit.
So who has the best footwork out of the two?
In terms of cutting off the ring, last fight notwithstanding, Canelo...
Kellerman contrasted this with Canelo's reliance on natural size, strength, and power, which often enables him to dominate smaller opponents. In his view, if Crawford can neutralize Canelo's forward momentum and force him into a tactical battle, the advantage will shift heavily in Crawford's favor. This blend of technical precision and high fight IQ, Kellerman believes, is one of Crawford's greatest assets heading into this fight.
But overall, I have to say Crawford. If you go down the list and ask me about tactical advantages, most of them are Crawford. What Canelo has is size, and as a result, physical strength and punching power. Canelo also has a great chin. But in terms of, if you want to go skill for skill, especially the recent version of Canelo, who's had to turn into a seek and destroy guy, who had to learn as his career went on to cut off the ring and not just follow guys around. Like Lara, Trout, Floyd, he followed those guys around. He had trouble because he's really a natural counterpuncher who wants you to come to him. But in recent years at super middleweight, he's gotten really good at cutting off the ring. Again, last fight notwithstanding. So as an overall suite of skills, recent vintage, it's been Crawford.
Okay.
But Canelo also is skilled and has a larger skeleton.
Popular boxing commentator Showbiz The Adult has offered a balanced and respectful take on the fight, acknowledging Canelo's physical strength and the intensity of his training camps, which have consistently enabled him to dominate at the highest level. He highlighted Canelo's ability to absorb punishment, apply relentless pressure, and deliver crisp counterpunches, making him a dangerous opponent for anyone. At the same time, Showbiz praised Crawford's unique background, noting that his early experience in wrestling has given him an exceptional ability to read opponents, counter their tactics, and adapt under pressure.
He uses his core and then his neck itself to lift up Bibble like Bibble was a featherweight. That is a huge representation of how strong Canelo is. When you look at his workout, you can tell why he was able to do that. All these damn neck exercises that I wouldn't dare do. Okay, that stuff looks painful. The squatting and all that stuff that he's doing is exactly why Canelo Alvarez, honestly, is a strong fighter. He tried to do it again with William Skull. William Skull shook out of it. But he is a bull. Look, Terence Bud Crawford is strong. He is, okay? And he understands leverage, and he understands those things because he wrestled. Honestly, very true. But Saul Canelo Alvarez is also extremely...
Across the boxing community, one consistent theme has emerged. Crawford's strategy will be crucial in determining the fight's outcome. Analysts agree this is not just another bout on the calendar, but a defining moment in Crawford's career, one that could cement his place among the all-time greats. A victory over a champion like Canelo would silence lingering doubts and elevate Crawford's legacy to new heights. To achieve this, he must rely on precision, patience, and adaptability. Steering clear of reckless exchanges where Canelo's power is most dangerous, experts argue that his game plan should center on controlling distance, using angles to disrupt Canelo's forward pressure, and gradually wearing him down. They emphasize that this fight will test mental sharpness as much as physical skill, with victory likely going to the man who remains composed and disciplined through all 12 rounds.
Understands that he has to be smart. And I think with this one specifically, it ain't just about being smart. He knows he has to look like he's never looked before, because again, if he doesn't and he beats Canelo, everybody's just gonna say, well, that's Crawford. So I think he knows that this is the performance of a lifetime and everything has to look right. He knows in order for it to look right, he can't just go out there and let the dog go. The dog is, you got to work his way up to the dog. Show the clip real quick. I don't know if you showed it already, but this is the dog you're talking about right here, right? So I pulled this clip right on social media this morning.
Don't do that. That's what I'm saying.
And I pulled this clip, right? But this is Terence.
That's who he is.
He's not gonna swing on Canelo. He already know that part of the game. But when I asked you, were you ever trying to send a message to your opponent? He's letting you know, and it's no act. And that's what I really wanted to show. Is that's not act.
No.
That's not the 30 security guard.
I don't know. It feels a little contrived.
You think so?
I think a lot of people feel it's a little like.
Well, I'm glad you used a big word that most of us don't know.
Yeah, I don't fight as good as you guys. I had to learn some big words, right, to make up for that.
Don't look it up. Just ignore what
you need. Big words to get out of fights. You need big words to get out of fights. But okay. So case in point, our guy Hafey, sitting right there, producer extraordinaire. He had a picture of Terence Crawford in New York for the Crawford Spence press conference. And there was this look, when Terence, he gave this look to Spence that reminded me of, like, white Muhammad Kawi, a young
Super middleweight contender Edgar Berlanga has shared his thoughts on Crawford's mindset heading into the Canelo fight, urging him to stay true to the style and approach that have brought him success, rather than making drastic changes to offset the size difference. He acknowledged that moving up to weight divisions is a massive challenge, but noted that it can also level the playing field in certain ways. According to Berlanga, Crawford's skill, ring IQ, and adaptability will be far more important than trying to match Canelo physically. He emphasized the need for clean execution, discipline, and composure under pressure. Berlanga's perspective highlights that, regardless of the outcome, Crawford is already showing the mindset of a champion by accepting such a dangerous feat, willingness to face the toughest challenges that, in his view, separates great fighters from the rest.